But here's what I've deduced. If people are wondering, like, how is your A1C high? Like, what's going on? Like, what do you think? And this is where I fully blame running. I'm like half kidding, but I'm also not. It's mainly my fault. So I'm not saying running is bad for you, but
you might be the first person to say running gave me diabetes.
Right?
That's the headline.
And so let's talk about it for a little bit. This is the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast, and we're here to build autonomous athletes and put phenomenal programming into every garage, basement, and spare bedroom out there. I'm Jerred Moon, and I'm with Joe Courtney. We are strength and conditioning coaches who have turned over 20,000 people into garage gym athletes over the last decade. And we're here to reduce the information overload that exists in the health and fitness industry today. We're going to do that by covering relevant science and give actionable takeaways, not only from the data, but from our years of experience. So let's dive in. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. Jerred Moon here with Joe Courtney. What's up, Joe?
Hey, man, what's going on? How's life?
It's pretty good. Hectic as usual. I thought it'd be good to hop on today, just talk about, I don't know, kind of updates on training. I haven't talked about the ultra marathon that I'm doing soon. I'm doing some other health stuff. I'm actually wearing a continuous glucose monitor. I wanted to update people about that. Some of my insights. Joe has questions apparently, but like I told him, hey, save it for the podcast. We're doing it live. But how have things been for you, man? You getting settled in the new international lifestyle?
Yeah, we're all good here in Spain, and like we got like it was like a false false spring, they say, very beginning. What was it? Very end of February into March. It was like, oh hey, it's like touching the 70s. It's sunny. We can go outside. We can do this. And I was like, great. I'm gonna get my running in. I had some great runs, and then we got hit with like crazy waves of like constant 30 to 40 mile an hour winds and rain and just like complete crap outside. And so, which I mean, at least I have the basement gym, but I so like running, I took like 2 weeks off of running, and now I started Hard to Kill, which I'm enjoying the cycle so far.
Yeah, how you liking it?
Days in. Yeah, so what I mean, we can switch topics too, but what I love about this cycle, and one of the main reasons why I changed, is because I love themed days. I like when a day is just one thing, and that's kind of why I was on strength for like a year or 2 years almost, because I'm like, I know I'm just lifting today, or if I'm going to do conditioning, I know I'm just doing conditioning today. And that's kind of what I really like, because it's helps me mindset wise, helps me just like get in the right focus, depending on what I'm listening to as well. So yeah, I definitely like that part of it. So, and then it helps me for shifting days around. So like, I know if I need to start my week with the intensity weeks, I'll knock those out, and then I can shuffle the other ones on like harder days that it might not be. But
yeah, go ahead.
Yep.
I
was going to go back to
Spain,
also this week. My body just feels like it's falling apart. I have
was
like
that due to Hard to Kill track, or is that like
no? This started
okay.
before.
Right.
I don't know what it was.
Yeah, we're pretty early in the cycle, so
yeah, I just did my third day today, so like, I don't know. It's just nothing stopped me from training. I took yesterday off just because like a cautionary, because my knee, something was going on with my knee. If anybody saw my Instagram story, I was walking upstairs, and every step I take upstairs, my knee clicks or pops or whatever. It doesn't hurt. Well, it started to just like hurt and feel unstable when I would like squat down, like that front of the kneecap area, and I was like, this is weird. But I went and ran today, and everything's fine. But like just little things all over. My wrist is starting to really hurt again, like pretty bad. So like doing the Turkish get-ups for the imam was pretty rough on my support arm. And yeah, just little shit here and there. And like even my finger, I did something to my finger last week when I put my shoes on, like it popped and it's like swollen.
You sound old.
Apart all over. Yeah, I know. I really am. And now I'm just like, you know what if I just do stretching every day? Because last week was a fit week. And so I trained for the first 3 days. I actually like lifted, and I'm like, I just felt tired. I just felt like not lifting. So I did a couple of days after that, and I stopped. I didn't do like lifting. I just did a couple of days of pliability. So like I feel like I just need to like do some mobilizing, do some moving, because I just felt like I needed to. But
yeah, I think. Well, kind of hitting on a couple of things there. I appreciate the feedback on hard to kill track. I mentioned kind of in the last podcast episode, I was looking for feedback, especially from anybody in the community. I know we are early right now, but if you are in the community, you're in our online community, I would love feedback just because it's a new style. I do think so far from what I've heard, people are enjoying it. But the dedicated days, does that get old for people over 12 weeks? Like maybe. And another question that I saw on the hard to kill track was kind of something you hit on, is like, can we move days around if you want? And you absolutely can if you want to. Like there's how I tried to space them out is where like you're not hitting 2 IWTs on the same day. And I was trying to, put monostructural next to an IWT. But if you want to change those around, that's fine. The only thing like I said, I would try to not do is 2 IWTs, so interval weight training back to back. And you can. I've done it. I'm just saying, if you're doing an IWT day correctly, it should be pretty taxing. So you normally want the next day to either be a rest day or that zone 2 day or something else. Yeah. So anyway.
Yeah, I was more sore after the upper body day than I thought. I was like, this isn't that much pressing. This isn't that much volume of everything. But it actually hit me. Maybe it was because of the freaking 2 minutes of double unders that I had to do repeatedly.
Dude.
That back to back.
Well, it's crazy because I'm not doing hard to kill right now. I'm actually going to end up being 2 weeks behind everybody mid-April because I have this ultra coming up. I have to run, right? Like I have to put running in. So I can't follow hard to kill track 100% right now, but I will starting the day after, the 2 days after this ultra is over. I'll just be on hard to kill proper. No more running. Actually, no more running. I won't be running anymore. And then I'll skip deload weeks.
Boycott.
I'll skip deload weeks, and then I'll end up catching up with everybody and being like on the same. But anyway, I have been doing the IWTs from the cycle because that's something I've been experimenting with anyway. So I've been doing the IWTs, and yeah, I am a little bit more sore than I thought I would be from some of them. It's like surprising, but I'm really enjoying it. I love everything that I'm doing with the hard to kill track, and like just personally, I love the training. It's been a lot of fun.
The only day I haven't done yet is the lower body day, so I can't decide yet if I'm mad at you yet because I'm pretty sure that's the worst day.
Well, it's crazy with these IWTs is like you're in the driver's seat for how hard or how easy it is. Like with the reps on the squat, the weights on the squat, how hard you go in those 2-minute intervals after the lifting exercise. Like they can be really, really crappy, or they can just kind of be okay. It's like, it's up to you. And I've definitely haven't been doing a lot of IWTs over the last couple of months. Some days are easy IWT days on purpose, and some of them are hard on purpose. So it just kind of depends on how I'm feeling and how I want to go into it. So everybody just take note of that, but they should be pretty challenging.
Absolutely.
All right, man. Well, what do you want to talk first? You want to talk ultra training or you want to talk CGM? Which one's?
Well, we're already on the training stuff. So
okay.
Just keep the training.
Okay. So yeah, ultra's coming up. This podcast published Monday. That means this coming Saturday, I am doing the Death by 5K. So it's like a 5K every 2.5 hours, something like that, for 24 hours. So I end up running a 50K. And that's what I've been training for the last couple of months. I'd say legitimately training for it for 6 months, and now the last 3 months half training for it. That's just kind of where my training landed. I think everyone kind of got the update of like, I did tweak my back. I don't know I think I was in December, and what ended up fixing my back was changing my running cadence. So I changed my running cadence to about 170, 180, and steps per minute, and that really actually fixed my back. But there's still like, if I do a long day, we're talking like a 2-hour plus run, my back starts to feel it, even though if I keep the cadence. And so I'm like, I'm just not going to do it. I'm not going to do these long runs. And then because it would prevent me from doing the race altogether. So what I've been doing, I've been doing my speed days. So those hard zone 4, hard interval days. And I've been doing zone 2 days, which is anywhere from 60 to 90 minutes. And then my long run days, I've been putting in probably about another hour and a half. And then sometimes I would do like incline treadmill walking for like an hour and a half to 2 hours, as opposed to doing a long run, because it's just that pounding over the time is what seems to piss my back off. But I haven't re-injured it. To be honest, I haven't tweaked it. It's just almost like I can feel it. Like I'm very aware of it now. I'm like, oh, if you keep going, like this will get worse. I kind of know that now. So I know where to stop. And I think that's really good thing to know. But that's where my training's been. But to be honest, it's not where it should be. It's not like that's how I know I'm not walking into this race trying to be competitive at all. It is a little bit more of like how I've been other races that are just like, let's see if we can do it. Let's just survive it. But not quite the no training survival. It's like, now you put in some training, like you've been doing something. So now it's just a matter of like, with what you've been doing, how well will this ultra go? So that's how the training's been.
I feel like the main thing about that ultra is just completing it, because like I don't know how, it's not like a race that you like. Would they take the sum of all the times and then say, okay, this one, okay, I guess that makes sense. But at the end of the day, as long as you complete it, it's not like you're finishing last in a race. You're like, hey, I survived this 24 hours of 5Ks.
I could very well finish last, but yeah, that's what they do. I mean, I think. I guess, I don't know if they probably do it by chip time or whatever, but you start and finish, and then they add up every 5K, and then whoever has the fastest sum of their 5Ks wins the race, technically. And yeah, I was never competing for that slot, because there are people who actually like enjoy running and like just do it 5-6 days a week, and that's what they love to do. They just love it, and that's not me. So I'm just going there to finish it. But it's an interesting race because it's over the 24-hour time period is what makes it difficult. It's kind of like the David Goggins, doesn't he have that challenge, the 4x4x48? Have you heard that?
Yeah, Ryan Caswell, one of our athletes, just did it.
Yeah, he mentioned that to me. I think a couple other athletes have done it over the years as well. So I think that's 4 miles every 4 hours for 2 days for 48 hours, which that ends up being worse than this race, right? So
because it's 2 days screwing up your sleep.
Yeah. Is that 48 miles in 2 days? Is that what that is? Because there's 6 bouts. There's 6 sessions in 24 hours. There's six 4-hour blocks in 24 hours.
48, yeah. I guess it would be 48 miles.
Yeah. So yeah, it's worse than what I'm about to do. So hats off to you, Ryan, for completing that. But I think that's the only thing that I haven't experienced is fueling for like a longer strategy like this. Like I think I'll be fine because I have the time to fuel. I have time to just sit on my ass and eat if I want to. But I think those are the things that I will find interesting going through it. Knowing how much to push myself is something I'm a little bit like, I'm not sure what to do. So I gotta like think through how I want to approach that, because if I was just running a 50K straight, which I told you before we started recording, that would almost be my preference at this point. Like I think I would just better understand how to pace myself for that. But when it's like, it's the same with any interval. It doesn't matter if you're doing 5K intervals 10 times or you're doing 30 or 40-second intervals. When it's an interval, pacing is very, very important, because if you go way too hard on an interval, it makes the other intervals nearly impossible. So if you run a 400 meter at a 100-meter pace, well, you're not going to do very many 400 meters, right? When you're getting to like multiple reps in interval training. But I don't want that to happen to me in a 5K. I don't want to go out too hot trying to get like a really fast 5K. And then I'm like, oh shit, I can't do 6 more of these. So anyway, that's my only concern, but I don't want to underpace. I don't want to like run this like low zone 2 5K every single time. And then I'm like, I definitely could have pushed myself way harder. So like, that's what I'm trying to, because I know if I just stay in zone 2, if my heart rate's just like 130 for every 5K, there's no way, like other than like getting injured or something, there's no way I couldn't finish it. You know what I mean? So I want there to be some level of like, I pushed myself. So I'm trying to find out where that's at.
Yeah, I was wondering if you had any sort of strategy like that, if you were going to do that, or like maybe go every other, like start off with like a solid zone 3 one and then go zone 2 and then go back and forth so that you have like a recovery interval and then a go interval.
That's kind of what I was thinking for the first 5 is like go out, not hard, but yeah, go out zone 3, don't touch zone 4, the first one, zone 2, the next one, zone 3, zone 2, and then make a call on the 5th one. Be like, hey, do we want to burn it to the ground? Do we want to try some zone 4s? Maybe I only go zone 4s for like the last 3 of them. So that's kind of where my head's at right now. I definitely don't want to. I don't want to shortchange myself with getting the full experience of running. Probably my first and last ultra marathon, as far as I know.
I do love the idea of these races that have some sort of strategy or game that you can like. You actually have some sort of autonomy to decide what you do and how you do it, instead of just all right. Here's the starting line. There's the end line. Go fast.
Yeah, I mean, and I think I would prefer these. Like, I prefer this type of race over anything else. Like, I think a marathon. The more I've done training, like running training, I think a marathon training program is like my worst nightmare. Like, I think the level of boredom involved in just trying to get faster at running in a straight line just like is so uninteresting to me, that it would be hard for me. But for some reason, I don't have that when it comes to cycling. Like, I enjoy cycling. I don't know what it is. Like, to me, there's a difference. Like, I've done a lot of cycling training, right? I've done cycling races. And I think that's what I'll go back to after this. I'm not saying I'm done with endurance training. I'm just kind of done with running. I just don't. And I can talk a lot more about why when we get into some of the CGM stuff. But like, I don't enjoy the process as much as I thought that I would, compared to other endurance style of training, for sure.
Yeah, the race that I've always, once I heard of it, I wanted to do is the sandbag one in Phoenix. They might have other locations now, but it's like there's different loops that you can do. You either go run it, it's a trail race. You either run each different loop. The longer the loop, the more points you get per loop, and you have 4 hours to do that. And then you could also, I think, double your points if you do the loop carrying a sandbag. And that just sounds awesome because, like, okay, maybe I'll do a sandbag this one, then I'll come back and I'll do it without one, and then you'll just see how it goes for 4 hours. And you can do it as a team, and then you can also do like the ultra one where you do it for 8 hours. So that one sounds pretty crazy and a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm down for that. Let's carry something. Let's get some musculature involved. But other than that, I mean, I got some new shoes. I got headlamps. I got food. I'm pretty much ready to go. So
have you thought about trying to do like a day on the weekend trial? I know your weekends are pretty full, so you can't really do that. Or maybe during the week, to where like every 2 hours, you're only doing it during the day and not overnight. You're just like every 2 hours, you're going to go run a 5K.
No, I want the full experience being the first time. I just, I haven't tested it at all. Yeah, I haven't. I mean, I have thought about that. I think, Mark Bishop, who's doing it with me, he did that pretty early on in our training. I don't know how many he ended up doing. Maybe he did like 3 to 5 different 5Ks, and he kind of took notes on like how he felt and like what was going on and stuff. But no, I haven't done it. I could have. It would be easier to fit into my day, in all honesty, instead of the weekend. Like, I could just like take a break every couple hours from work. Yeah, run for 30 minutes, come back. It sounds so simple, right? I won't use the word easy, but it sounds so simple. It's like, how hard could it be? But you never know when you get into these races, because like, there could be like the Spartan race that we had. Like, I keep checking the weather. I'm like, what if it's raining? Raining changes this 100%, because if you're in rain for 24 hours, no, like that's a different ball game. It has nothing to do with the endurance anymore. It's like, there's a suck factor that can't be explained if it's cold and rainy. So there's just a lot of other things that's why I'm not going to say, oh yeah, this should be no problem. Like, I think I'll finish it unless I get some sort of injury, which is definitely possible. I remember when we did that Spartan race, my hip flexor just stopped working at like the last mile. I had never had that happen before. I would say that that's possible here, but I feel like with the brakes, my hip flexor would like be like, okay, I'll start working again. I would hope. If not, you got 2 hours to walk a 5K. Maybe I just walk the whole day. I just walk for 24 hours. Just walk the whole thing. So I think I'll finish. That's the goal right now.
I mean, you can walk a 5K under an hour.
Yeah, like it's fine, right? It's gonna be fine. Yeah,
yeah.
No, but I do want to talk a little bit more about the CGM. So I'm wearing a CGM now. have been for the last couple weeks. And have you heard anyone who doesn't have diabetes wearing a CGM? Like, are
On
you
social
aware?
media,
Yeah.
I've seen
Uh,
that. Yeah.
yeah. And so, well, do you have any questions right off the bat before I just get into anything at all?
I mean, first, how did you get one? Because the only brand that I knew about years ago was Levels, and
Mm-hmm.
I checked them for like a year, and they were just like, "We're still in the testing phase. We're still in the testing phase." And yet, I'm seeing people on Instagram posting for Levels. I'm like, "How the hell did you get this?" And so I like sent them several emails, and they even used my Endo 3 Fitness team. Was like, "Hey, I'd love to try this thing out,"
Yeah.
but I obviously never responded. And so I'm sure there's other competing brands out now, and once one thing hits the market, you kind of have the competitors stumbling to get with it too. And I see more people with it. So obviously they're gettable. I just don't know how.
Yeah. So the two big brands I did research into before I got one, and they are no way a sponsor. They didn't provide anything for free. To be honest, I reached out to both companies too and kind of got crickets. So don't really love either company. I just picked one, and I'll tell you why I picked one. Um, Levels and NutriSense were the two that I looked into, and they seem to have pretty good reviews. To me, between the two, it was basically a coin flip in which one I choose, and actually Levels is a little bit cheaper than NutriSense. The only reason I went with NutriSense is because it had an integration with Garmin. And so, like,
Uh,
in the NutriSense app, it'll pull in like when you did a workout or how many steps you had, or if you like weigh yourself on a Garmin scale or whatever. They talk to each other really well. So that was the main reason I did it. And how you get one, you end up answering all these questions because what I think is like technically needs to happen is a physician has to like pretty much give you a prescription for one of these. And so you have to have some sort of like legitimate reason for wanting to do it or concern. I'm sure you could just say, I'm just looking to improve my health, and they'd probably give you one anyway. But like, it's basically like you answer this long set of questionnaire and then they approve it. And if they approve it, then you're in and you get a CGM. And I don't think that they're in the business of disapproving very many people because that wouldn't be a good way to run a business. So I think that most people get approved, but the actual reason I did it, and I had a legitimate reason, and I've talked about this on the podcast. So I get my blood work done at least once a year. I think I'm going to move to twice a year until I get some issues corrected that I'm looking to correct. And the main one being is my A1C is higher than I would like. So A1C is basically like the previous 90 days, like where your blood sugar's at, where your blood glucose levels have been at. And over the course of, I think it was a year and a half, 2 years, I had my blood work done. That was kind of like not baseline, but the baseline I'm comparing it to now. In my A1C was great. It was awesome. Like, and it, to be honest, not something I should have to worry about. You would think with like my activity level and like nutrition and everything. Um, and so it was great. Let's say a year and a half ago. And then I got my blood work done January or whatever. And my A1C is high, not like crazy high, but it's like at the borderline of like, if it goes like 0.1% higher, I'll be in like the category that's like, oh, you might be pre-diabetic. So that like set off a lot of alarm bells for me. And so that's why I got a CGM, because I was like, what is going on? What am I doing wrong? Like, how on earth basically is the question I was asking myself. And I've been I was pretty frustrated with it, and I was like, well, I'm not messing around with this. Like, I'm going to get a CGM and we will fix this problem. And so
mhm.
I'll update everybody and see. It won't be until summer. I'm going to wear the CGM for a full 3 to 4 months and then have my blood work done. So like the summer, I'll see if it got corrected and if the CGM was worth it. But that's what I'm trying to correct. That's the big reason. So I'm not just like slightly interested. I actually like had an issue I was trying to correct.
Nice. That's crazy. And does it last that long? I thought that only lasts like a month. You have to change them out, but that one lasts a little bit longer.
You have to change it out every 2 weeks.
Okay.
And so what they ship you a set of two every month, and then you
Okay.
have to switch it out every 2 weeks. Um, But here's what I've deduced. If people are wondering, like, how is your A1C high? Like, what's going on? Like, what do you think? And this is where I fully blame running. And I'm like half kidding, but I'm also not. It's mainly my fault. So I'm not saying running is bad for you, but
You might be the first person to say running gave me diabetes.
right.
That's the headline.
And so let's talk about it for a little bit. Because I have been training for over a decade. Like, well, I mean, maybe 2 decades, whatever. Like in a certain way, which is basically weightlifting and cross training. Let's call it cross training, mixed modality, right? Things that we're doing on the hard to kill track. That's just what I've been doing. I've never embraced endurance training. But at the same time, with that style of training, my diet has been about the same for that entire time period. I mean, I've experimented with low carb and higher carb and moderate carb. I've done like dietary experiments, but my diet has more or less been the same. And what I mean by that is like my ability to eat large amounts has been like a thing I've been able to do for a long time. And here's what I've noticed wearing CGM for 3 weeks. And I've been doing a ton of experiments because I'm just like, yeah, cool. If I can measure everything, let's just see what the hell's going on. If I work out in the morning, specifically with a hard to kill training style session, so like mixed modality or weightlifting, I can almost eat anything I want for the rest of the day. And my blood glucose will not go into any kind of danger zone, like at all. It won't go too high, won't go too low. It's just pretty stable for the rest of the day. And same if I do it later in the day. Like it's better what I found is it's better for me to do some sort of mixed modality training or strength training in the morning. And then, I can eat. I don't want to say whatever I want. Like I still have a pretty clean diet, but I'm saying I could have as many sweet potatoes as I want for lunch, and it's not a big deal to my blood glucose. But running, my body, again, I'm not talking scientific here. This is N equals 1. I'm doing my own experiment, and I have the blood work basically to prove it, right? So I'm saying what's happened to me. I don't think this is true for everyone. But running, it's like I get the same appetite trigger from running, but I don't get the same blood glucose benefits. So I've done this experiment several times now over the last couple of weeks. I can go run for an hour and a half, and I could do it fasted. I could do it fed. It doesn't matter. After I finish that run, I'm 2 things. I'm hungry and I'm thirsty. And so I drink water and I'll eat. And I don't eat anything crazy, but like I will eat what I would normally eat post exercise of like a hard to kill training session, which could be sweet potatoes and carrots and like just like basic shit, right? Like nothing crazy. A banana, you know what I'm saying? Like I can have those things after a long run, and my blood glucose will spike up into an area where it's not supposed to be. So again, this is like Jerred Moon problems, right? It's not like human problems. This is like, oh, something's off with you. But I've also known, you've probably picked up on it, and anyone listening to the podcast, I've also kind of always known like lower carbs been better for me. Like I've just like, I feel better. And that's just like intuitive. I've always been like, man, whenever I'm on low carb, like I feel better. So I stopped fasting about a year ago. I started eating more carbohydrates, and I added endurance training. And I think that was like the trifecta of effing up my A1C and making it too high. And people can chime in with whatever they want of like, oh, maybe it's stress, maybe it's that, but I really don't think it is. Like, I don't think it is, especially from like what I've been seeing. Like, I don't seem to have a huge glucose response from any kind of stress, like over the past 3 weeks from what I've seen. There's been no like, oh, that's weird. So anyway, this combination of like in doing endurance training and for some reason it not really, my body not responding with wanting more glycogen after the fact, probably because it's just not as fatiguing, even though like I have the appetite. That's what's weird about it, is like I have the appetite, but I should probably after I run have just like some water and like a small snack. But then like it also doesn't help me the rest of the day. Like it doesn't help regulate my glucose the rest of the day. And what I haven't been able to experiment with, because I need to be running right now because of the ultra coming up, is I bet that's 100% different if I'm on a bike, because I can almost guarantee it is, because think about how much more muscle involvement is on a bike. You know, if you're just going up a hill versus running up a hill, like it's just so much different. These are the experiments I want to test after this ultra is over. And that's why I say I'm done running. This is a major part of why I'm done running, is not just because I haven't enjoyed the training as much as I thought I would, but I don't think it's good for me to continue to run without significantly changing my diet, to eat, I don't know, being like basically keto post on my endurance days. So anyway, that's what's going on with the CGM and what I've learned so far.
So you don't think it's just a heart rate thing of like the fact that your heart rate's high for so long trigger something? Because you could, like, what if you just did like a 40, 50-minute circuit of just keeping your heart rate in zone 3, just like you would like batch heart rate 1-to-1 for what a run is? You don't think it would?
No, I don't think it's heart rate related at all. I think it's a muscle involvement, because what's happening when, and I would have figured this is happening. Here's my understanding of it. If you are lifting weights, anaerobic, anything that you're doing, like your body is going to rely on sugar. Like it's going to burn sugar after you're done doing it. It's going to want sugar or carbohydrates. You can say whatever you want there. It's going to break it down into sugar, even if you're eating a complex carbohydrate, and it wants to replace those glycogen stores. So that's what happens when I'll just say more muscular involvement, like weightlifting, cross training, those kind of things. That's what's happening, is you're burning a bunch of glucose, irrelevant of heart rate. Like you're burning a bunch of glucose, and you are doing that as well in like zone 2, zone 3 training. But as we've talked about at length, that is the more fat efficient zone, right? Like that's what zone 2 is like you're burning more fat. You're not burning as much carbohydrate. And so that's what I think is going on, is there's a lot more like these lower zone 2 stuff is not taxing enough. It doesn't there's not as much muscle involvement, so I'm not burning as much glycogen, so it just affects my blood glucose differently. And so I do think, but if I, going back to heart rate, like if I were to do zone 2, like we're doing the 42-minute EMOMs and hard to kill, like I think, I haven't tested those yet. I haven't been able to do one because of the ultra training, but I think what's going to happen is I can do those, and that's still going to help me regulate my blood sugar better because of the muscular involvement independent of the heart rate zone. So that's my theory, is like you can be in zone 2, but you need to be in zone 2 and getting your muscles involved in order to burn the glucose, so your body will better regulate it and want more glycogen, to store more glycogen after you're done training.
That's pretty crazy. And like, just you wouldn't think that would be the result, especially because like if you would equate, because when they do studies, they usually do cycling. Like most time whenever they do endurance studies, it's always on a bike. And just to think that like, okay, just changing up what the modality is could affect everything.
Yeah, and that's what I'm going to be wearing this thing. I probably for a full 6 months. I don't know if I actually will. Like if I get my blood work better in like 3 to 4 months, I don't want to take it off, because to be honest, I don't enjoy wearing it. It's slightly uncomfortable just to wear, but yeah, I do think that's a big part of it. And again, could I change this? Probably. Like if I were to be like, okay, I'm done zone 2 training, but I'm going to eat just a piece of protein and minimal carbohydrates, like, berries and a chicken breast post running. I do think I could fix it. But what I'm just realizing is like, why? Like you don't even like running that much anyway. So like, why would you try and adapt your diet to like regulate your blood sugar better when you can just, here's an example. I did a really hard training session, IWT. Emily and I went to our favorite restaurant locally, and sometimes I'm like, I want to test. I want to see what my blood glucose will do. I don't want to just try and eat perfect all the time. Like I want to see what my blood glucose will do if I just kind of go crazy. You know what I mean? So I wouldn't say this is like crazy, but I didn't order like a chicken salad. I had
turkey burger.
No, it was something I haven't ordered before. It was chicken quesadillas. They added these like adult chicken quesadillas to the meal. Like I think of that as a kid's food in my brain because that's like always what my kids get when we go to Mexican food. It's like it was new to the menu. It was chicken quesadillas. In the chicken quesadillas, ton of cheese, protein. It's on flour tortillas, and then it's served with like chips and salsa. Right? It's like it sounds like a nightmare for blood sugar. It's just like eating a shit ton of tortilla chips alone, like that should be enough to like wreck your blood sugar. But I had done IWT training like 2 hours prior. I ate all the tortilla chips. I ate every single quesadilla, and I barely had a response. Like it went up a little bit, like my blood glucose went up a lot, as it should when you eat food, especially carbohydrates. But then it just came back down like an hour later, and I was fine. And so I'm like, that's crazy. But then I tried it again with one of my favorites, chicken and waffles. I tried that. So again, like I don't normally eat these things, especially when you eat two of those things within like 7 days of each other. Like I normally try to just like, if I'm going to eat something crappy, it's like at a restaurant, maybe once a week, but I'm testing things out. So anyway, I had a run day. I had chicken and waffles at a restaurant about 2 hours after. And it is the highest I've ever seen my blood sugar pop up ever. And granted, quesadillas and chips, chicken and waffles, there's more protein than chicken and waffles. And these are small waffles. It was like a bougie restaurant. This wasn't like an IHOP sized waffle. These were like, I'm talking like 4-inch by 4-inch waffle, 2 of them, but with a big pieces of chicken. I was like, well, this is a lot of protein. This actually like is probably the best version of like what a chicken and waffle could be, other than it being like lightly fried. And my blood sugar went bananas. It came back down really fast, which means like I have a good like insulin response, but it went really high. And that's basically what I have to stay away from are those high peaks. So I've been doing these kind of experiments. I probably won't do any more for, leading up to the ultra or anything. Cause I also know how to eat perfectly now that like when I'm being watched, like the second I put the glucose monitor on, it's not like I'm a dummy. Like I don't know how to regulate my blood sugar. Like I know too much about nutrition and, I've just been in the industry for so long. So like for the first 7 days, they give you a score, and my food score and my blood glucose score was 100 for a full 7 days. And Emily is like, I get what you're doing, but this isn't probably all you should do. Like, she's like, it's great that you know how to like get 100% on this test because you're being watched, but like you need to live your life too and like experiment with some things. So that's why I've been trying some different things at restaurants, because I immediately was like, okay, I'm not going to snack. I won't eat anything carbohydrates. I'm going to eat like berries with like lots of protein. I'm going to make sure I have like lots of protein and fat with my meals. And like, I just like changed everything. But now I've been doing a little bit more experimentation, getting a little more liberal to see like, hey, what does your blood glucose really do?
Yeah, that's like a free pass to experiment. To be like, what's really going on? What really can I do? What really shouldn't I do? And so have you found that either on run days or zone 2 days, or are you just distinguishing the difference between those two? Like if you do zone 2 on a bike, is it still just like I can do whatever, or is it only on run days?
I've only been running because I have the ultra coming up. That's why I want to switch to biking. Like, how in Hard to Kill right now, it has the Monday monostructural day, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to do those. I'm not running though. I'm going to do it on the bike, and I'm also going to do it on the rower, and I'm also going to do it on the ski erg. And test each one of those and see, because think about how much muscular involvement is involved with all three of those things, compared
I've never ski erged for more than 2 minutes.
Well, it's crazy. When I first got a ski erg, I did like a 30-minute session, and like my shoulders were sore after the first time, but never again. Like I've never been sore again from the ski erg. It's just like a weird movement. But I just think that I don't know if your body like gets too efficient at running, like we're built to run. You know what I mean? Like the human body is built to run. I can't argue with that. But it's like, well, maybe we're too damn efficient with too much convenience on the food side. Because again, what I'm not saying is, like you said, running gave me diabetes. Not what I'm saying at all. I'm not saying running is bad for you. I'm saying for running to work for me, I'd have to adjust my diet in a way that I don't want to, when I can. Because what I think would happen, like, if I were like a serious runner running 5 to 6 days per week, but also trying to keep my blood sugar with how my body responds to it, I think I would lose 15 to 20 pounds, because it would be hard for me to get enough calories to sustain my activity, because I'm like, well, I can't eat that many carbohydrates right now. I'd have to go doing that like old school, like, okay, well, I got to eat 6 to 8 small meals throughout the day. And like, you know what I'm saying? Like I would have to do all these weird things to maintain more running volume that I don't want to do, when in reality, I could just like lift some freaking weights and swing a kettlebell and eat how I enjoy eating.
That's awesome. Definitely gave me a lot more to think about, because I've been interested in those, and I know that the ones that the people that I follow, they would do to where they would experiment with types of food, and then like this food triggers this food triggers this, and then it'd also be like, okay, before and after workouts and all these things to experiment. I think that'd be fun to experiment just to see how it is, and especially for Liz, because she's had blood sugar issues in the past, kind of like you've had blood sugar issues in the past. But when we count our macros, she does better with like a standard, like even split, maybe a little bit higher carb. I do better with lower carb. I feel like I do better with lower carb. I just digestion, I think, is better, and I guess energy just might be better with higher fat. We just got done, or well, I just counted for the last 3 or 4 so weeks, and it was pretty good. I'm taking this week off just because I want a break. But I'm also a snacker, so I'd be interested to see the difference in, like, okay, if I do just stick to meals, or if I snack, and then even on the workout days, like, okay, zone 2 or my strength days, like what do I think is better and works better? I know when I was on shred and counting last year, like in the fall, I feel like my body composition got really good, and like I wasn't doing anything like that, but I was just counting high fat on shred. It was lifting, and then there was like an ending circuit that was like 8 minutes long, and that was it. So like heart rate got up at the end, got a pump in, and that was that. But that's kind of what shred is meant for anyway.
Yeah. And I will say a few things about wearing the CGM. I do feel like I'm leaning out. I haven't been paying attention as much to my weight. But again, I talk about those experiments like chicken and waffles and quesadillas. I mean, I have not done that very many times. I'm talking like 3 times. And the quesadillas, I didn't even actually get a blood glucose response that was like outside of like any kind of range that would still be good. So I've only had bad glucose score like twice since I've been wearing this thing, like twice in the last 3 weeks. So a lot of it's been like me just like paying attention. It's like when you're wearing a Whoop for the first time, or a sleep tracker, and you're like, oh shit, I better get to sleep. You know, it's like when you're first wearing it, like it kind of freaks you out. That's how I've been wearing it. But now that I have it on, I'm like, why would I want to go outside the zone other than these like one-off experiments? So things that I've done, just so like people can take away some tips. Yeah, I don't snack at all anymore. And I think I did kind of have, I was snacking. I mean, when you work from home, it's kind of hard not to, you know what I mean? Like you can just like walk by the kitchen, and like the kids left out dried mango, and you're like, yeah, a handful of that sounds good, you know, like whatever. So I definitely cut out all snacking. I'm not doing that at all right now. I brought back fasting, but I talked about that in a podcast. I brought that back even before I got the CGM on. So I'm sticking to like a 7 p.m. to 11 a.m. intermittent fasting window. Because I've always felt like what?
How many days?
Every day.
How many? Okay.
Yeah, 7 days a week. I fast, and from 7 p.m. to 11 a.m. But other things I've noticed, mentioning zone 2, like lower intensity stuff. What happens when I do those things? My blood glucose lowers. It drops during, not like alarmingly. It just goes down when I do that style of exercise. When I do more high intensity stuff, like interval weight training, my blood sugar goes up. Again, not alarming. It increases, which is normal body responses when you're doing high intensity activity. It starts to shove sugar into your blood so you can use it faster for the activities that you're doing. It's like a normal response for your body to go through. Those are things that I've noticed. I have noticed. So I shift my workout to mainly afternoon until the summertime. Then in the summer, I flip it to the morning because it gets so hot in the afternoon. I change. But what I have noticed is when I do exercise in the morning, again, not running, but other forms of exercise, it helps me regulate my blood sugar so easy for the rest of the day. So that's one big change that might just be permanent, is on every day that I can, I'm probably just going to exercise in the morning. And another thing that I've been experimenting with, because I'm like, well, I have to run. Like I got so annoyed, I was almost like, I'm done running. F it. I'm just going to go to the ultra and I'm not going to run anymore. Cause like, I was just so like pissed about what I was finding with my blood glucose. I was like, I'll go, but I'm not running anymore. Like I'll just do shit on the bike. But I was like, no, that's a bad idea. Like how can we do this a little bit better? So I've modified my diet a little bit, but I'm doing a micro Murph in the morning on days that I'm running. And so that might sound crazy, but it's really not. So I do a quarter Murph on run days, a quarter Murph in the morning. And so and I'm not running it. I'll do it on the rower. So I'll do 400 meters on the rower, which is a quarter, right? And then I'll do 5 rounds of 5, 10, 15 of pull-ups, push-ups, squats. So this takes less than 10 minutes, at least for me. So it's like hop on the rower, 400 meters, 5 rounds of 5, 10, 15, and then another 400 meter row. Yeah, that's quick 10 minutes. And I've also noticed that small activity in the morning can help regulate my blood sugar a little bit more. Again, it's just getting rid of glycogen. It's like my body needs to dump the glycogen out. And I don't know if this is like a product of my body training in one way for like basically 2 decades. And that's why I am the way I am. And like maybe things would adjust. But I've been running really consistently now for like, we're coming close to a year, And so my body hasn't made the like needed adjustments. And I think that's why I've always felt like I've just not felt good around runs. It's like, you've probably heard me, if you've been listening to podcasts, like I've mentioned that, I'm like, I just don't feel like good after runs. And like my blood sugar is lowering, then I'm hungry. So that my blood sugar lowers. So I want to eat, like I have that appetite, like it's a natural response, but then I eat and my blood sugar shoots up. So then I feel like shit again, because either too low or too high and it just doesn't feel good. So anyway, that's what's been going on. That's probably because I thought it was a fueling strategy. This is going back probably like when I first started reporting it. I was like, I can't figure out the fueling for running. Like I can't figure out if I have too many carbohydrates before, my blood glucose will shoot up too high. I have to have like the perfect amount, and then I don't feel that great on the run. So anyway, Jerred Moon, again, not all humans, has some sort of weird problem with blood glucose in running, but doesn't seem to be a factor with other activities. That's why day after this ultra, see ya running. Like I will be doing all the training necessary. So tips that I have learned, I know I keep going off on tangents, is just working out in the morning. That's a big one. No snacking. And then I've always been good about this because Emily's always like harped on it, not just with me, but with our kids, but having a really well-balanced meal. And I don't mean well-balanced in like fruits and veggies and like all that kind of crap. I mean, you never have a carbohydrate without protein, and you never, or protein and fat really. She's always been really big on that. And I've noticed a huge difference if I make sure that I do that. If I'm like, okay, I'm going to eat these 2 pieces of toast, but not by themselves, right? I need to have eggs with that, or I need to have chicken with that, or I need to have steak with that, like whatever. Like always trying to combine carbohydrates with protein and fat, and that really does slow down the blood glucose response as well.
Yeah, that's a pretty good point to know, especially for like counting macros. If you're at the end of the day and you're like, well, shit, I need 50 carbs and that's it, and you're like, well, that's not the best way to go about it.
Yeah, and like little things. We have like this granola cereal that my son loves, and we got back pretty late from a practice the other day, and he's like, "Can I have some of this before bed?" And I was like, "Sure, man." And then I was like, "I'm gonna have some too." So I had some, and my blood glucose didn't go too high, but it was elevated like all night. Like the whole night I was sleeping. I'm like, that can't be good. Like, I don't know if it's actually bad, but this can't be good. So it is interesting to see all these like little things. I'm pretty good about sleeping. I've heard that like getting shit sleep, like your body doesn't regulate its blood glucose the next day as well. But I'm pretty much like a champion sleeper at this point, to be honest. I'm getting like 7 to 8 hours every single night. Like Garmin scores of like 99 are not uncommon for my sleep score. So like those things, that stuff's going really well. So yeah, I don't think there's any other factors that I'm aware of.
We have our bedrooms basically as sleep chambers now.
Yeah, that's all they're for. It's like
mine's just in the 80s, but that's fine. It's good.
Hey, it's what you'll get there. Can't be a sleep champion in one day. Well, it'll all randomly offset with like a random like 70. It'll be like 98, 99, 98, 97, 95, 70. I just have like one shit night every like 10 days for some reason. But
Yeah, we're still co-sleeping, so
oh, dude, the fact that you're even getting in the 80s is insanity. It means you
Well, he
would be
preferred
like a solid 100 if you
it might be, yeah, because our house, and this is just nonsense now. Our house and our bedroom, like these houses in Spain, they're built to stay and be cold. So like our bedroom is like no shit, without even any extra effort, it was getting to like 63, 64 degrees. And
that's
like it's
awesome.
like that plus the chili pad, like I'm just like bumped it up.
That's
Good to go.
freezing.
Yeah.
I think if it's 63 degrees in my room, I do not need a chili pad. That's for damn sure. Like that's
I
just
would
I can't get my house to 63. Well, I technically could. I would just have to pay for it. In the summertime in
in the winter,
Texas,
yeah.
like
Summer you
63
can.
is not happening in the house. So
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely plenty of nights where I turned it off, but you just get used to it after a while, I think. And the humidity here is still pretty high. So even like in the house, the humidity is like around 70.
that is pretty high. Dang.
Yeah. Yeah. They have moisture issues in the house. We have
Dehumidifiers.
dehumidifiers. Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like they'd fill up pretty fast.
Yes.
Yeah,
I've
70%.
changed them daily at least.
We lived in a house once where like they like installed an AC return vent wrong. And so what it did,
The drip side.
it would dump humidity into our room as opposed to like remove it. And so if our bedroom door was shut, our humidity would go up to like 65%. And so we had a dehumidifier that would fill up like every couple of hours. We eventually got it fixed, but like that was a problem for a while. And
Yeah.
I remember just feeling like the air is thick. It's like thick in here.
Yeah, it's really thick.
I mean, I don't think I have anything else. You have any other questions about CGM or ultra training?
Just a couple random thoughts. Like so I think I'm guessing you're just on those run days, you're specifically going higher fat because of that. Because
Yeah,
so like
so
your body's sensitive to the carbs on those days.
adjustments I've been trying to make on running. To be honest, I haven't figured out exactly how to do it, but what I've been doing, I realize I can't have like a big post-exercise meal, which is what I was accustomed to, even if it's healthy. And here's an example, because I can have the same. Like I don't eat a lot of different stuff. Like one meal that's pretty common for me is 3 to 4 eggs, some fruit like strawberries, and 2 pieces of sourdough toast with butter. Like that's a pretty like everyday meal for me. And that meal is perfectly okay on any IWT day, and it's not okay on a run day. Doesn't matter if it's before my running or after my running. That it's like the combination of strawberries and toast. My body's like, what the fuck are you doing? So like,
You need some peanut butter on there for fat.
yeah, right. Like I got to do something, right? And I thought the butter would slow things down, but yeah, you need maybe some thicker fat. But anyway, that's like an example. So like instead of having that meal, I switched it to like I will have a light post workout shake. And what I mean by light is like not just like a protein in a shaker bottle. Like it'll be blueberries and protein and like all these things, but it's only about 400 to 500 calories when typically that shake would be like 600 to 800 calories. And that's what I'm saying is like, because if I have the bigger shake, I still have a problem. So I need to I just think eventually I would start wasting away. I'd start losing weight. So that's how I've kind of adjusted, is like making sure that I hit some protein, some food before a run if it's later in the day. If I'm running earlier in the day, then I just go fasted, and there's still not much of a difference. And then post workout, I think what I'm having to wrap my head around is like when you step into a gym and you do like interval weight training or you do a hard squat session, that is a super taxing event for the human body, and it needs to recover. It needs a lot of like, sustenance, for lack of a better word. And what I think I'm learning is running is just not that for me, especially zone 2 running. And I should kind of know that, right? But like an hour to an hour and a half zone run to me is still an hour to an hour and a half of activity, but it's not that taxing for the human body, or at least my body, right? Like it's not that big of a physiological event to where I need like this big post-workout meal or anything like that. It's just like I could probably get away with having some water and electrolytes and a protein bar that's 200 calories, and like that might be all I need post-workout for a run, and then maybe dinner. But I think that's what I'm learning overall.
Yeah. Then it'd just be the last thing would be interesting to experiment whenever you reaccept running back into your life is if there's like a cap as to zone 2 duration that you could do, then it wouldn't affect you. Like maybe just cut it off there, or maybe you're just doing sprints for running and you're going to be doing zone 2 on the bike.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I will definitely keep running. Like I'm just done for a little while. It'll probably be this cycle where I don't really run that much, but I'm going to try and maintain a lot of my conditioning, because I've gained a lot of progress on the running side. I've actually made a lot of progress in running. It's just I found out this other little weird biological quirk with me for running. So I'll probably bring it back, but yeah, I'd probably do it different. The amounts, to me also, I just feel like mixed modality is like always going to be the answer. Like a micro Murph and then run 5 miles. Like maybe that should just be the answer to like everything. You know what I mean? Or like start and finish a run with a couple hundred air squats. Like maybe that's just a better response. But I think the bigger takeaway for anybody like listening is go get your blood work done. There are 100 different companies that like do this stuff. Inside Tracker is the one that I use, and they are not a sponsor of the podcast, even though they could be. I could give you a code for discount and all that crap, but I don't have any of that stuff. So Inside Tracker, I think Get Blokes or something like that is another big one that's I hear people using. So there are a lot of places that you can get these full blood panels done. You could also just ask your doctor, like go into your doctor and be like, hey, I've got some fatigue. Can we do a full blood panel? And they'll be like, yeah, let's run a full panel and your insurance will pay for it. So you don't even have to pay for these things out of pocket if you don't want to. Typically, if you go to your doctor, you have to have like, I have general malaise, so can you give me a full blood panel?
Say it just like that.
Yeah. Like so I mean you can get these things done, but get your blood work done at least once a year and then try and make changes. Like I wasn't just like, oh, high A1C or like borderline high A1C. I'm just gonna wonder what that's about. You know, like I'm going to fix that. Like that will be fixed this year, and then I won't have to fix that problem again. And what's weird is I don't have like my parents are diabetic. There's no type 1 diabetes in my family. There's no type 2. I mean, there might be like somewhere in my family. I'm just saying like my parents don't have type 2 diabetes. My grandparents don't. It's not like something that's, and I know type 2 is not necessarily genetic. I'm just saying like, it's not like, it's not in the family history. You know what I mean? So like, it's really odd.
Blindsided.
Yeah. It's odd stuff. And it can affect so many different other things, like, mental clarity and like fatigue and all these other things, I think. So I think it's really a big deal to get your blood levels checked, because how much higher my A1C was than a year and a half ago, I do feel different. And my honest thought was like, oh, you're getting older. Maybe your testosterone's dropping. And so, but I have all these like, my testosterone's great, just to answer that question. Like, surprisingly, I've had it checked every year for the last couple of years, and it's not really fluctuating. It's at a good level. My free testosterone, my total testosterone, those things look good. And so I'm like, well, damn, I can't blame this on like a hormonal issue. And I think it's just A1C being higher than I'm accustomed to, especially since it's quite a bit higher than what I've had in previous blood work panels. So I think that just me not feeling like myself for really the last year, I just kind of thought, I thought, okay, maybe it's hormonal, maybe it's age, maybe it's stress, who knows? I think this might be a large part of it. And I'll be able to answer that question here in a couple months when I rework my panels. But I do think that's something that's been a factor for sure.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I'd definitely be interested to look into it as well.
Yeah, go get your blood work done. Everyone listening, and you, Joe, go get it done. And Navy will just pay for that. You just go get them to pay for it.
Yeah, I mean, since we're here, it's always a pain to get new when you get a new primary care doctor and like the initial appointment, and then like with the military, it's like no matter what you do, it's like they make you jump through hoops just for basic stuff because they know they have to pay for it. Like, yeah, hey, can I get my blood work done? Here, take some Motrin first. Maybe that'll.
Well, and what they'll do, like I tried pulling that card in the military because I wanted free blood work done, and they would do the most minimal blood work possible. They'd be like, your white blood cells are okay. I'm like, that's all you checked. Great. Okay. Thank you. There's like,
I don't have an infection.
Yeah. They're not checking like your TSH levels. They're not checking testosterone. They don't care about any of that stuff. They just like, what are you telling me you have? I will check the minimal amount of blood to like make sure you don't have that thing. So yeah, you probably are gonna have to pay for it out of pocket. But
Yeah. And thyroid and cholesterol run high in my family. And the last time I got my blood taken, everything was in the fantastic the ranges, but like those two things were in like the middle to high. Not like they weren't like in any like high, but like compared to everything else, they were like a little bit askew. So
my cholesterol is always a little bit high.
Yeah.
I do have a doctor that I work with. I don't self-diagnose everything. Like I actually have a primary care physician that I work with. But there's like some sort of math you can do on cholesterol. It's like you divide. I don't know. Somebody knows. A doctor listening right now knows. There's like something that you can divide one by the other, and yeah, like there's something there's some way to calculate if cholesterol is a problem. And she was like, "You're fine. You're fine in cholesterol." So like I do have a higher cholesterol. That's probably from eating higher fat, lower carbohydrate most of the time, and it also runs in my family, so there's not a lot I can do about that genetically. That has not been something of concern for me. I'm not going to take statins. I'm not going to do anything else to like handle that. So that one's just like whatever. But A1C, that seems like it should be completely within my control.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. Well, we'll wrap this one up here. All the athletes sticking around listening, we really appreciate it. There will be an update episode coming in the near future after I have finished this ultra. I'll come on here and let you know what lessons I learned, if I failed, succeeded, tried too hard, didn't try hard enough. We'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll roll the dice right now, but we will get there. Thanks for listening to the podcast. And again, looking for that feedback on the Hard to Kill track right now. If you want to go to garagegymathlete.com, for those who haven't signed up, go ahead and sign up. We're still towards the beginning here, and it's going to be looking pretty similar all cycle. So there's not really a bad time to jump in with the Hard to Kill track. If you want to talk about or do any of the stuff that I'm talking about, you can go jump in. And for all of our athletes who are doing it, thank you guys so much. We really, really do appreciate you being members of Garage Gym Athlete, trying the training and giving us the feedback. But that's it for this one. Remember, if you don't kill comfort, comfort will kill you.